Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We are now live, and we have a ton of stuff to go over. So remember, if you do want to go follow us, go over to marfooglenews.com and find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to share here today. Now, when you go over there, you will see that it is all done by thumbnail. You will just look for today's thumbnail, the last 24 hours waiting on disaster, and you will find that we have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that you will see here tonight. Now, if you go to the very bottom, you will find extra content. Make sure to also go check out all of the overflow. That is all the stuff that could not fit into the show. Of course, we collected all of this, and all of the stuff that couldn't make it in, it will go down to the bottom of the page. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So just to make sure here, and I think my audio is a little bit loud here. Sorry about that, guys. I did not realize. Let's say hi. Thank you, dropping them in the chat for the mods. They're going to be doing an awesome job keeping it peaceful. Make sure to respect others in the chat. There's usually a lot of folks here, so if you are new here, most people are going to be extremely friendly. Of course, this has been, a lot of people have been here for a very, very long time. So make sure to just ask people how it works here if you don't know. Let's see here. Thank you, by the way, everybody that has already popped in over on DLive. I appreciate that. We have Rumble tonight. Rumble was not working last night. We weren't getting the appropriate information back from Rumble to stream to multiple platforms. So thank you, again, Rumble, for fixing whatever that was. And then we also have DLive and everybody over there, so thank you. And then thank you, John Frederick, for the super thanks on the last show. And then thank you, everybody that actually supported last night's show. We appreciate you. And, of course, thank you. That was Blue Boy 1968, Ray the Way, Carol, of course, Kelly Joe Z. That was Caitlin Sweat, Gunslinger 67. Of course, Thomas C. Bryan, Zippy Moons, Carol Abide, Mimi Carstel, Junebug, Bible Talk 777, and Lost Lobo. All right, so first of all, U.S. eyes Russia in destruction of Ukraine's Kakhovka Dam. It says that the U.S. government has, quote, intelligence that is leaning towards Russia as the culprit behind the destruction of UKR's Kakhovka Dam and hydroelectric power plant in the early hours of June 6th, according to the report. It says that the dam across the Dnipro River, one of the country's major waterways, was all but gone in video and satellite footage that emerged over the last 18 hours. The Kakhovka Reservoir has been emptying into the river all day, causing catastrophic flooding downstream in the Ukrainian region of Kherson. Water from the reservoir is also used by the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant to cool its reactors, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, and there is at present no immediate nuclear safety risk at the plant. So I have a prediction, and this is the same prediction that I had last night, is that in the next week or so that this is going to start causing a problem there, or has already caused a problem, and they haven't told us about it yet, if it's not all for, this or that. Now, some said that, of course, at first that this was blown up. There's, of course, accusations going back and forth. Then others are saying that it actually has had work on it since 2019. Even the official Wikipedia, when you look it up, says that there was serious work being done at this dam. And then some believe that UKR did this. To make it look like Russia may have done it. Whatever it may be, there is water basically rushing down towards a ton of people and a ton of villages. So Dex, this is pretty bad if you see some of the images downstream from it. And that also means that the water will be lower upstream where Zaporizhia is.
Yeah, that's correct. You're going to start to see all that water recede and pull back from the tributaries and other streams that were thickened up from the dam holding it back. So yeah, Zaporizhia will have less water in its tributaries which could cause a cooling issue.
I think you just said Zafaria. You made it sound Italian.
I'm good at that.
Thank you, by the way, Jojo, for subscribing, and Steve-O, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And so as far as what happens, again, we'll end up following what's going on. Here's some satellite photos of what they say is the current, or close to current, up to, I think this was like taken 11 hours ago or something like that, supposedly. So that looks pretty bad. That looks like there's nothing there. And then the water on the other side, it doesn't look like you can even discern where the water, where the river used to end. Like, this looks like it's all water, but I don't know what we're truly looking at. It almost looks like clouds. I don't know if that's the cloud cover over it literally looks like the cloud cover from a satellite over this thing. But apparently that's water. As you can see, the structures here are kind of broken down. Let me zoom in here. There's parts of the structures are still intact, and I'm guessing those were the mid parts with the concrete hydro parts in it. But the rest is just gone. So, and if you see how it looks, obviously many have talked about this being a huge escalation if this was done on purpose. It's really weird to look at the satellite images of this. But one thing that I don't have all the way feelings of is I have seen not only this woman, but there's like two sets of pictures I've seen the most of. And of course, this is a really sad image. For one, I don't know why I think she's holding that dog literally by one paw up out of the water. So it's and it looks like the dog was pregnant or had babies. Like, if you look at that. But yeah, both of the main pictures that I've seen a lot going around are of that lady in that. Is there thousands of pictures out about this? Not really, not yet. So again, some people have questions about that. And let's see here. Mexico lowers the alert level for Popocatépetl volcano. We've talked about over the last 2 weeks, there was a lot of talk about the Popocatépetl because it is a huge volcano, and it has a lot of people living by it. If you remember, we talked about that there was 60,000 people living within, or no, I think it was more than that. It was in the millions, wasn't it, Dex? Wasn't it like 15 million people? It was more than all of the people in New York. It was, there's 9 million in New York, and this had more than that. And
yeah, that's correct. It was a lot.
And
25 million people within 60 miles.
Yeah, that's insane. I mean, that's so many people packed in there. That's like a Pompeii kind of thing if this thing went off. So that is really not good. But as far as this is it's kind of an update because they're saying that they are now lowering the alert level on the Popocatépetl. After more than 2 weeks of eruptions and gas and ash had drawn the attention of those living in its shadow and people around the world, the 17,797-foot mountain is just 45 miles southeast of Mexico City and known affectionately as El Popo, had spread ashes over towns downwind for days and spurred authorities to dust off their evacuation plans. Some 25 million people live within 60 miles of its crater, but ultimately no evacuations were ordered, and experts said that the emissions from the increased activity actually made a catastrophic eruption less likely. So it let off some steam, and it's probably okay. We never really said that this was too freaky, other than the fact that there were so many people that close to it. And then thousands evacuated as massive wall of water surges through Ukraine after the major dam is, quote, and this is again another part of the angle, was blown up. Now, this is from Zero and Hedge, and it says image and videos posted on social media show a major dam and hydroelectric power plant in the Russian-occupied region of Kherson, located in southern Ukrainian village, destroyed early Tuesday. It says water rushed through the dam into the Dnieper River, which separates Ukrainian and Russian forces, Both sides accuse each other of the attack that puts tens of thousands of homes at risk and might even threaten the safety of Europe's largest nuclear power plant, which is what we said right off the bat. This actually says sections of the dam measuring hundreds of feet appeared to be missing, allowing large amounts of water to flow out of the reservoir. Now, I think the other pictures that I saw looks like all of this kind of very shallow land and the split here, that was all covered now. But again, if you have really, really, really up-to-date pictures from the last 4 hours, I could not find any. I would love to see them from satellite. The hydroelectric dam is the only crossing in the area and serves as the source for a vital canal that delivers water south into Crimea. Crimea being, of course, one of the places where not only that Russia controls, but they end up using that land for farming. It's a huge farming part of that country. And of course, that is, some people say that they're fighting over that because of the farming. And I believe that area has some of the best soil in the world, as far as the topsoil is so good that you can essentially grow anything, and it's like the most amazing dirt. But it's not any good if you don't have water going to it. It says it is not immediately clear who was responsible for blowing up the Novakhovka Dam. UKR's President Vladimir Zelensky posted a drone video showing the damaged dam as water gushed downriver. Zelensky blamed Russian terrorists. It said that the destruction of the Kokova hydroelectric power plant dam only confirms for the whole world that they must be expelled from every corner of UKR land. Not a single meter should be left to them because they use every meter for terror. It's only, and then of course, and then he put the video that we showed you yesterday of the drone flying around the broken dam. It says, meanwhile, Russia denied the attack. Russian installed head of Kherson administration, Vladimir Zoldo, said Kiev was behind the attack. They're both pointing fingers. And it says the destruction led to a large but not critical amount of water flowing down the Dnieper. It will not prevent our military from defending the left bank, Zoldo said. He accused Kiev of the attack to divert attention from failed counteroffensives, which, of course, Russia says has already started in ways. I forgot what Prigozhin says. They keep changing their story over and over. Do they say it has started or it hasn't started? Kiev has said that they haven't even started their offensive yet. They've gone back and forth as well. The reason why people are talking about this counteroffensive is supposed to be massive. Russia is digging 600-mile trenches. You would think if that's just for UKR, then this thing has to be absolutely massive. But again, many of the people around me, including myself, I believe it's because they are getting prepared for a major war that's bigger than just UKR, that's more NATO and UKR fighting on those same borders. And then the UKR Wagner Boss. Dex, do you want to go over the Wagner Boss rubbishes Russian claims of UKR casualties? More arguing inside, the same side arguing.
Certainly. So this is continuing to get amplified here, but a fresh row has broken out between the Wagner Group and the Russian military. Again, this is infighting on Russia's side. As a long simmering tension between the groups threatened to spill over, Wagner boss Yevgeny Prigozhin dismissed the Russian claims to have inflicted heavy losses on UKR in the Donbass when Kiev attempted the offensive action. So basically, what is happening is Russia is trying to say there were these significant losses of UKR soldiers, and Prigozhin is coming out and saying, no, it's not really true. I don't know, I'm not 100% certain of the motive here. At first, when he was, getting the limelight and in the news, a lot of people were thinking he was jockeying for position in the Russian government. Like even some were speculating that he was next in line should something happen to Putin. But now that seems to have taken a significant turn over the many, many months where he has gone from complaining about not having enough equipment or the right type of people or zero munitions to arresting or detaining a general, not a general, but a commander that had fired upon him from the Russian side, as well as now going out against what the Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has said about the number of casualties on the UKR side. So he is, some might even say he's on the other side of the fence, so to speak. But we keep watching what's coming from him. It's definitely enlightening, if anything, and entertaining, if you can find entertainment in the absurdity of war.
I think he is an actor. I think he's full of crap. I don't. So if people really think that Russia is hiring them to do their job, and they're just going to put up with him basically making Russia look bad, and going against everything Russia does and saying that they're telling lies, at the same time, if it's putting this narrative, and it furthers the narrative that Vlad has to have him, that he's desperate, right? It even furthers the Western narrative that he is desperate, that he's constantly desperate. He has no choice but to use Prigozhin because his army is so weak and they just don't have anything left, right? Just like all of the articles saying that they're out of missiles. They only have enough for 3 more attacks. Just yesterday, after I've been talking about this for months and months, because I don't think they realize that small channels like me are talking about this, because mainstream doesn't call it out. When they say that they have, only enough for 3 more missile attacks, and then after 3 missile attacks, they say, well, we actually think that they only have enough for 3 more. Last night, they literally put out an article, mainstream media, syndicated all over the place, saying, well, they have definitely enough for 2 or 3 more attacks, but they can actually make a whole lot more because they're still building missiles, even though we put sanctions on them. Like, this is stupid. I get really frustrated with the fact that so many people don't see that there's 4D chess going on here, and they just see it as, if you say this, then you support Russia, or you're carrying somebody's water, or if you say this, then you're just a complete, grommet and a sheep, right? But there's something in the middle. There's things going both ways, and some would attest to like the art of war, like Sun Tzu. Look weak when you are strong. Look strong when you are weak. I think that him calling out this stuff, it doesn't make sense. Russia has a badass military. In fact, the only reason they're a superpower is because of their military and their nukes. People think it's just because of their nukes. Their military is a savage military. People in Russia are just made tough in general because of their circumstances. But when you go to their military, I mean, it's not like they're doing, diversity inclusion sessions in the Russian military. These guys are, sitting on ice for 10,000 hours and stuff. Our military is badass, especially when you get into all of the specialists, like the Navy SEALs and things like that. But as far as in general, these guys have a bad boy military, and they haven't used a lot of it yet. And Western media is telling you that they are basically running out of everything, that UKR is victorious and everything else. But if you haven't looked back about 15 years, then you would see mainstream media was on the opposite side of this thing. CNN was going into UKR saying, oh gosh, the UKR people are just absolutely terrorizing these people and Russians in UKR. I mean, like, there was a complete narrative switch over the last few years. And we should be looking for the objective truth. Doesn't matter where it is, we should be looking for it. I think that he's constantly, distracting from this whole thing. They cover Prigozhin so much that I think that it is on purpose. And maybe there's a long-term goal to this. You have to think they are strategists. And if there is some sort of orchestration, between these countries, that the end result after a war that takes off, a third of the world's population, and they feel like, oh, we're actually better off now, then they may all set up and say, oh, this is going to be the country that's going to be in charge now. I mean, they set these things up. The richest, most elite people in the world, the people that are really in charge, the people that are above all of the presidents and prime ministers and princes and kings, all of those people, they meet once a year or more, and they decide who is going to be in charge. Just frankly speaking, if you don't know that, then I would do some research, because It's been there in history for a long time, and it's more and more of it is available now than ever. So I don't know about the Pregazin thing. What do you guys think, though? That's just my opinion. You guys are allowed to have yours, too. So tell me yours in the comments down below. And then CIA was warned of a high-level UKR plot to sabotage the NORD. And I say that carefully because this and others, as far as platforms, are just going nuts with this stuff. It seems like there's something going on here. Stream pipeline months before it was attacked. So the main headline you keep seeing is the B administration knew about this months before. Well, have you ever seen the video of him like 6 months before saying, yep, it's going to be taken out? And they're like, oh, how, sir? How, Mr. President, is it going to be taken out? It will be done. It will get taken care of. We got this. Are you looking at my eye? If you haven't seen that video, then I don't. And then some people go, oh, well, it's just a coincidence. I literally saw that as a comment. It could just be a coincidence that he said that, but they weren't actually going to do it. Okay. Again, this is a sensitive thing, and I don't know why it should be. We should just be looking for objective truth. But if you haven't noticed over the last 5-10 years, any real journalist has been kicked out of mainstream media, and now they have complete control over every single mainstream media outlet out there. And now that people are coming over to these platforms, they are basically clamping down on them because they know that. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, this whole thing about them knowing beforehand, it's like we only have to wait a couple months and almost every kind of rumor that's out there ends up becoming true. It's like, oh, if they said it on the internet, it must be true. Sadly, it's become almost, almost is. It's like everything that's said on the internet almost is true. Dex, go ahead.
Well, it's also interesting as they claim in here that this was supposed to be taken part by divers, and a dive team was supposed to do the detonations. And again, all of this is sort of similar to what we were told by another person. I can't remember his name. The gentleman, the Seymour, put out his version of it where he said it was divers, but it was from a different country that did it. So this is interesting, and to say the least, but it definitely adds yet another layer of mystery to this, and it causes people to then ask additional questions, go down additional rabbit holes, and again, confuse and basically hide what the truth is. And this is yet another way of hiding it.
Yeah, if you're looking for a needle in a stack of needles, it's much harder to find the truth. The needle being the truth, of course. You set out 15 different paths and you put out all of the different narratives, and then there's so many narratives that people are like, and they just all kind of pick one. And that's also a really good way to divide people. If you take a normal person who may only read, I bet the majority of people maybe read news once a week or a couple times a week, or they might catch a headline or here and there as they sit in their kitchen and eat dinner or something, they'll watch. But most people are not this close watching of the news. And that's why somebody who's new here and may not follow it that closely or is just getting into this, they might not realize there's been like 10 different narratives, including one that really sounds reasonable and was immediately kind of backlashed on, right? Usually it's the one they backlash on that's true. But when you see this many narratives, it also caused divides, because a regular person, say on Thursday, they end up watching the news, they see one of those narratives, they go to work on Monday. Well, that person goes and talks to somebody at work, and the person they talked to at work saw something on Tuesday, a totally different narrative, and then they start fighting over it. And this works with politics, works with everything. I personally think that they are dividing people by sowing confusion, and it's so broad and wide. It's one of the biggest things you've ever seen, and I don't think it's us really. I think it's forces from outside of our country that are doing this. Much like in Mongolia, when what's his name? what gosh, Dex, I'm blanking on the name.
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. When Genghis Khan would take over a tribe, he would actually beforehand send in spies, or essentially these guys, to go in and cause ruckus and cause confusion and tell them false rumors and say this and that. And then when they would get there, people would be fighting amongst themselves so much that they didn't even notice that, Genghis Khan and his military had rolled up, and they would take them out very, very easily. I mean, this is 800-year-old tactics that we see today. There's actually a lot of similarities between Xi Jinping and Genghis Khan. And it's crazy because Genghis Khan in China was actually looked down upon with the last few rulers, or at least I think with Mao Dong. And you saw him Mao Dong try to remove a lot of the symbolism and the things from Genghis Khan and say he was bad. But Xi Jinping, coming from the same kind of background that Genghis Khan did, he had a horrible childhood. His father was taken away by, I believe, Mao Zedong's kind of regime or whatever it was, or one of the leaders before that. He came from that, and he looks up to Genghis Khan, and you can see it in his actions. He even made a Belt and Road Initiative, much like Genghis Khan. The Belt and Road Initiative is actually named after the yellow belt road. And now I'm just totally screwing up I have all of this wrote down too. I've been studying all of this. Gosh, and it popped up, Yellow Brick Road. No, it's not the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. The original road. What is it called, Dex? The Yellow Road. The Yellow Road?
The Silk Road?
The Yellow Silk Road. Is that what it's called? Anyways, you guys get what I'm saying. The Belt and Road Initiative, it originally got its name from that. Basically what Genghis Khan did was opened up these lines and these transportation lines, and he made a network of trade. And people actually looked up to Genghis Khan for that. Genghis Khan was also loyal to the people that were loyal to him, and that's how people in Xi Jinping's circle see him as well. But the Belt and Road Initiative essentially had China now. All of these countries are forfeiting on their debts, and they're essentially owing China, and now China's taking over places all over the world. We see at least 2 places that they did this to that now have 120% inflation and 50% inflation. So as far as this goes and these narratives, the main point is I believe that a lot of these different narratives and everything that is happening right now overall is because of outside forces putting all of this information into our media. Those same forces have invested billions into our mainstream media and to all of this MSM and our Hollywood and social media and everything else. All right, and then you can see ties to that country almost everywhere where there is questionable stuff. All right, and before we move on, I want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself against an EMP, I highly recommend going over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. This is a device that can actually protect you against all 3 phases of an EMP. It can actually protect your cars. Once wired in, it can actually protect you as well from CMEs, a Carrington level event, or a coronal mass ejection. So this is the way that you would have your car after multiple EMPs or a CME start and get out to wherever you need to go to bug out, or get home. If you work far from home, this is a really good idea to have on your car. It can be done by yourself in about 10 minutes. Literally, you don't need to be a mechanic. It's one of the easiest things to do on your own. Again, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. They also have protection for solar generators, gas generators, RVs, motorcycles, boats, and of course, even ham radios. So this is something that is really good if you have spent a good amount on your prep supply and on generators and things like this. Then it would definitely be a smart thing to have something like this to where they're actually protected. What good is a few $1,000 generator if it doesn't work? So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP, and you can also check out the house version. Again, you get $50 off per device, and that is limitless. If you get 10 devices, you get $50 off on each one, and it stacks on top of any of their sales. So it's a very good time to go, especially around any kind of holiday. You will get a great deal. marfugglenews.com/EMP. Thank you guys. It not only gets you a discount, it protects you against EMPs, CMEs, and even lightning strikes, but it also helps our channel. We're independent, and we don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have the mafia behind us. So thank you. And then Dex, as China raids U.S. businesses and arrests workers, the corporate landscape is getting very risky. Me and you were talking about this and how there's many big groups like BlackRock that were telling people, oh yeah, go invest in China. I don't understand why anybody would want to invest in a country that they might just possibly raid your office. Dex, do you want to talk about this?
This is definitely getting scary. I mean, there's been numerous companies in this article. They cover 3 of them that have actually, they're U.S. firms or they're companies that are based in both the U.S. and have offices in China, and having them raided by the government, by the military, not the military, but the police there acting on behalf of the government, and raided for, in this particular case, I think these were ones that were doing reporting on financial companies. So, think of stock analysts or research firms that try to gather information and let you know the health of a company so you can make decisions on whether or not you want to buy stock in those companies. So that's the specific examples here, and a lot of folks were looking at that saying, hey, they're trying to cover up what's happening in China from a financial point of view. But the main point is this makes things very difficult for companies that look at expansion or look at China and the number of people there, set the government and the politics aside and just think, okay, if you have a great product and you're selling it around the world, do you want to take 1/3 of the population and not give them access to your product? Or would you like to have 1/3 additional of the population of the world actually have access to your product? Well, of course, a good business person will say, yes, I want to sell to everybody on the planet. I want to, make my product available to everyone. So it does make that difficult. It makes it very difficult now when these companies, these corporate companies, are looking and saying, wow, our risk just went up. Like, we could have our employees arrested. We can have, everything, confiscated and taken, and for no reason, just because they choose to do it.
Dex, real quick, I want to call something out. So, Martin, if you did end up buying, I don't know why, but and I'm not saying that this is it, but I've seen pushback, especially when we first started with the affiliate EMP Shield. Now, EMP Shield, but when we started with them, it was before their government contracts and before they started doing work with DoD, DHS. They were a tiny little factory out of Kansas, making them all by hand. They still make them by hand, but now their factories are way bigger. But they're a veteran-owned company. They're family-owned, and of course, they are really, really good. They are military tested, Keystone military tested. You say you got the home version and that lightning struck and it failed horribly. You're not mentioning that they have a no questions asked lightning guarantee on that. So something about that does not sit right. So again, you would know that. I mean, that's literally on everything that they do. They have that. So I would contact them if that truly happened. But one thing I have seen is that there's a lot of like weird pushback against that. And again, if anybody has questions about EMP Shield, it has saved lives already. And again, it does work towards lightning. You said you bought the one for the whole home. Again, it protects everything within 250 linear feet. So again, may want to check on that. But even if there's lightning, they have that guarantee. So that's pretty rare. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've heard numerous reports. One of them I thought that was pretty fascinating was a multi-unit housing, like a townhome with, like, say, 4 units in it. One homeowner had an EMP shield and the building was struck, and that one actually protected everybody, all of it.
Yeah.
And there's been numerous accounts. Matter of fact, that's the only account that they have, because we've not had an EMP strike. We've not had a CME strike, but they've had, or a CME hit from the sun. But they do have numerous customers, many that have come in and said, yeah, this is, saved our butt from a lightning event big time, especially direct hits, which is something they can do that most others cannot. And by the way, the insurance or the guarantee you're talking about is backed by a major insurance company that pays it out. They're not going to pay that out if they don't think the product works. They would never underwrite the policy.
Yep. So, and I don't want to say that, I really don't, but at first we had, I don't know where the pushback was from. I don't know if it was from a competitor. In the very beginning, there was a lot more of it. And the longer that it went, we kept saying, okay, prove it. Absolutely prove it. Prove it, prove it, prove it. And absolutely nobody could prove it wrong. It's Keystone military tested. It's used in the highest places. So yeah, if you could prove that, then you could also cause a big ruckus, because agencies like DHS and DOD, they would have to, essentially there would be some really big problems if that was true. But again, I think it's because maybe there's competitors out there, and I'm not saying that's part of you, but we haven't seen that in a couple years now, but it was really bad for a little bit there, and kept saying, prove it, absolutely prove it. And even if that did happen to you, that's really horrible. But again, that means you also have that coverage. That's what it's there for if it fails. And I don't believe it's ever happened. So you would also probably make the news if that was if that is a fact. And I'm not saying I don't believe you. I would love to follow up with you. And then Beijing voices support for Taiwan's The thing is I'll just say this. If we do an affiliate, we absolutely do not do one. We have turned down 50 different affiliates because we don't believe in what they're doing, or we don't think that it's good for people. We have turned down straight up people saying, hey, please do this, and we'll pay you this to show our stuff. We don't. That's why we've only had like 5 or 6 affiliates in 5 years. Probably 7 affiliates total, and most of them have been affiliates for years. So, it's really, really hard for me to say yes to anything, because I want to make sure that it's really, really good. I don't want complaints coming back to me. I don't want people to say, oh, this is crap. And if they did, I would say, okay, I'm going to find something else, or I wouldn't have it as an affiliate. The affiliates are a necessary thing because we're independent. All of these MSM networks, like Fox, even they're complaining because they've just fallen under $1 billion without Tucker. But think about that. They're making $1 billion, $1 billion off of TV shows, and that's how much advertisers are paying them over a 24-hour period for this, this period of time. $1 billion. That's $1,000 million. What do we make? Almost nothing. And I believe that we do a better job than some of those daytime shows. In fact, if you look at any show and any of our peers, they're doing the same. The daytime views on a daytime CNN show, we actually have better ratings than that. Like, there's only 25,000 people that watch some of those shows over the entire United States. And, 30,000 view video from Jacob Israel, or, what's his face? Mark Dice gets like, primetime CNN views. So it's pretty crazy that, like Mark Dice says, a guy in his kitchen with a laptop can beat out MSM. He even, obviously #1 bookseller, outsells some of those huge name actors and things and anchors. So Beijing voices support for Taiwan's pro-unification. Before we talk about that, I want to say thank you. And then Ilea, thank you for being here. Again, make sure to thank your mods for keeping it awesome down there. Thank you, and thank you. Liz Potter says, Jesus is #1 on my prep list. I think that spiritually people should be ready for whatever happens. Again, this is news from a prepper standpoint. I think people really need to start realizing that things are not Not going to get better. You can have a positive attitude through the negative scenarios. And then Be Real Beast says, here's from some zip ties to fix your mic. After you commented that, we were in the middle of something, but I looked and I'm like, you're totally right. I could zip tie this part to this part and it will stop falling off. Be real. That's why you are a genius. And then Abide, thanks for the vibes. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, in fact, I think you were the first one off the bat. So thank you for the super chat. We really appreciate that. And then thank you, Kay Parker Fraser. I appreciate you. And Stephen McMahon says, off to work, kiddies. Good. God bless you all. Stay salty. Well, thank you. And Stephen McMahon, thank you for stopping by almost every show. I know you've had a crazy week this week, so thank you. And then Beijing voices support for Taiwan's pro-unification forces in latest exchange. And basically what this says, and by the way, is this the one I sent you from? Yeah. This is from South China Morning Post. So this is from their angle, and there's a couple pieces in tonight's show that I got off of South China Morning Post because we try to look at what they think and what they're putting out to their masses, right? And then this is them essentially telling all of these people that take this as gospel that everybody is in support of physical forces taking Taiwan. It says that Beijing's top official on Taiwan affairs voiced support for pro-unification forces on the self-ruled island and opposition to any external interference during talks with the visiting leader of its new party. Wang Huning, a member of the Politburo Standing Committee, the center of power in Beijing, met a delegation on Monday led by Wu Chengdang, who heads up Taiwan's new party that backs unification with mainland China, basically taking Taiwan back. And this is a crazy quote. Taiwan independence is a serious crime of splitting the country, which is a dead end that will only bring serious disaster to Taiwanese compatriots, Wang told the delegation, according to the state broadcaster CCTV. Taiwan residents living within sight of mainland China voiced concerns over live-fire drills. He said Beijing would, quote, firmly support the new party and the other patriotic reunification forces on the island and resolutely oppose the Taiwan independence split and external interference, a.k.a. the U.S., a.k.a. Europe, a.k.a. anybody who wants to say that Taiwan is a country, including John Cena. I'm so sorry. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Wang, who also heads up China's top political advisory bottle. Yep, I bet he does hit the bottle. Hailed the new party's efforts to promote the peaceful reunification. He reaffirmed that Beijing was seeking peaceful development in cross-strait relations and broadly unite Taiwanese compatriots. Chinese state media quoted Wu as saying that only through reunification can Taiwan have a way out. Mind you, they're clarifying, and they're inside their own country too. If you say Taiwan is a country, I don't know how it works there with lawyers, but you better have some representation, or you really know how to really know how to kiss some butt. And then Britain says China has closed unofficial police stations in UK. Now, when this was first coming out, there was a bunch of different angles on this. British Security Minister Tom Tugendhat, is that really what his name is? Tugendhat said on Tuesday China had closed reported police service stations at sites across the UK and that an investigation had not revealed any illegal activity by the Chinese states at these sites. Now, I feel like we've covered not only the UK, but other places have just recently shut down. Maybe it was Ireland. Dex, do you remember other ones that were asked to shut down? I'm just wondering if they're shutting down because they're done doing what they needed to do.
Well, we did cover the New York. Weren't they investigating one here in the U.S.?
Yeah, but they didn't close it down. They were investigating.
No, they didn't.
At least two, and one of them was like above a convenience store. These are official, Chinese government setting up in weird places like convenience marts and stuff like that, and they're police officers. How does that work? I mean, it's not like they're walking out in uniform, but essentially they're protected by something. I bet you if they do get arrested, or if they can literally take somebody, and I bet they might even have some sort of power through some sort of weird agreement of all of the stuff that we do with China. Like if they get caught doing it, right? They said that these police officers, these Chinese police, were there to help Chinese residents with paperwork and things. It's a bunch of BS. They set up in almost all NATO countries, in almost all of our allied countries, they were setting up these police stations. It's spying. It's getting prepared for a war. That's my opinion. What is yours? Dex, what do you think about them closing down?
Well, I would like to see them all closed down, in my opinion. But this is a good start. It will be interesting to see if any other countries actually come out and talk about it, and point, a spotlight on the action of potentially closing them down, or at least identifying them and saying, "Hey, this is going on, and we need to make a change and do something different here."
What do you think that the Chinese police stations are actually up to? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. I'll end up going over to the chat here in just a second. K. Parker Fraser says, "Hey, Foogle family. Hey, thank you." And then, by the way, Kara Fuse says, "I call it Yellow Silk Road," and yes, that is actually what it's called. So thank you for reminding me. When I have, I was talking to Dex earlier, and I was telling him that ever since I actually didn't breathe for 45 minutes on my own, and I died twice. My heart stopped, and I couldn't breathe for my on my own. In fact, the EMTs, this is years back, EMTs had to pump manually air into me, and they said they wouldn't put me in the ambulance until they could get me breathing on my own. And it took me 45 minutes to get to that point. I was, of course, unconscious and woke up 3 days later in the hospital. But ever since then, I have had the weirdest blankouts and issues. So if I do have those blankouts, just understand part of it is that I really have some issues, and it's actually gotten worse over the years. And it was probably from the lack of oxygen. So I try to do my best. Sometimes my brain even sees words. And before the show, I usually practice things like reading some of the things, because some words I will see differently. That's something that has only happened in the last year, and it's been getting worse, where my eyesight is starting to go really bad, and I'm forgetting what words are, which is really crazy. I've talked to a couple doctors about it, and that they say it's somewhat common in folks that have lost consciousness and that have not breathed and had a lack of oxygen to their brain. So it's so I apologize for any mistakes. I usually just kind of roll with it. And then U.S., Japanese, Philippines coast guard ships stage drills. So even more drills, and this time involving, again, with the Philippines and with the Japanese self-defense force. It says U.S., Japanese, and Philippine Coast Guard ships staged law enforcement drills in waters near the disputed South China Sea on Tuesday, as Washington presses efforts to reinforce alliances in Asia amid an increasingly tense rivalry with China. Witnessed by journalists on board a Philippine Coast Guard patrol boat, a BRP Cabra, the drills were focused on a scenario involving the introduction and boarding of a vessel suspected to be carrying weapons of mass destruction off of the Bataan Peninsula. Just want to point out that these drills usually focus around things that are very possible or highly probable. They usually look at scenarios and then they try to drill for those exact scenarios. So that's kind of freaky that they're practicing taking out a weapon of mass destruction off of a boat or a ship, especially with what is going on with at least 3 or 4 different countries that are dealing with this and threatening this. So that's kind of freaky. Practice makes perfect. Dex, did you catch that they were doing these drills, essentially practicing and pretending that there's a mass WMD on board?
Yeah, that's kind of creepy. And I guess given the state of what could progress through that area, that go all the way from the Philippines up through the South China Sea, anything coming across from the Indian Ocean around that way, working its way over to America or to other countries in South America. I guess it makes sense that they would be looking for things like that. And now that we hear what it is they're training for, and it certainly does raise the hair on your arm, so to speak, when you think about it.
Retroman says, "What does Marf think about archaics?" I don't know what that is, so I won't say I know something if I don't. I'll have to look up at that words. It looks like something out of Metal Gear Solid. Thank you, Randy Vaughn. I appreciate that. It's been pretty hard lately, actually. Thank you. All right. And then Blinken expected to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. When I first saw this headline, I wondered if he was going to get the red carpet treatment, which we have not gotten in the U.S. for a minute here because Saudi Arabia has not been that great towards us. They've been really, really nice to China lately, but they have not rolled out the red carpet for JB. I wonder how he's actually going to be treated there. Before we go further into that, I do want to remind you, if you do want to protect yourself and get yourself backed up for power generation, energy is one of the best ones. Again, this energy solar generator can also be protected by an EMP shield. The reason why we actually got introduced to energy is because they were directly doing a project with EMP shield where they were making an EMP shield directly for this. This is actually the only solar portable solar generator you can get an EMP shield for. This is the Flex 1500. It's modular. It's expandable up to 96 batteries. It can basically be an all-home system, or it can be a portable system that you take with 1 to 5 batteries and just throw in your truck, throw in your car and take with you, and have power on demand. You can basically store the power when you need it. With solar panels, or you can charge it from your wall and have it charged up at all times. And when the power goes out, this can actually also be a UPS system or an uninterrupted power supply. They actually now have the Flex UPS rapid charger, which turns it into an uninterrupted power supply. They also have something called a supercharger. They're all like Legos. You can actually change the overall performance of all of these by adding in a mod, sandwiching them in there, and it changes the performance of the whole unit. This is really, 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 really cool as far as being able to change it later down the road or expand it as you like. And essentially, you don't have to get everything all at once. You can kind of buy it piece by piece and make it the system that you want. If you don't care about having UPS and you just want something that will have, the solar capabilities, then you don't need the UPS. If you want the UPS, which basically means you plug your fridge into this into the wall, and then when, of course, the power goes out, it will immediately switch over. It's really, really cool. The best thing about solar, though, is the fact this is stealth. There is no gas involved. There's no harmful fumes and everything. You can run it inside your house. But even if you did have this outside or something, nobody's going to hear it from 3 blocks away. You can't hear it from 3 feet away. So that means if you want to be a gray man and be stealth, you don't want the guy down the street that didn't prep for anything, knowing that you have power generation. In fact, even if you're bugging in, most people are going to board up their windows, things like that, in a real SHTF situation. But this doesn't have to be for the end of the world. This is great for disasters, earthquakes, any kind of course, power outage or blackout. If you're in California, places actually had a forceful blackout up to 8 days in some places. They forcefully took the power from residents. So if you're in California, definitely recommend it because you have a plethora of sun and a plethora of dumb politicians running your state. But just my opinion. And then, of course, make sure to use the code Marfoogle. This one, you do have to use the link, and then make sure to use that code Marfoogle. Again, that Marfoogle code will get you a huge discount, and it will end up helping us at the same time. I would highly recommend getting the foldable panels, but there's all sorts of panels you can get, and you can actually get the unit from them and then get your own panels somewhere else as long as you have the right adapters for it. But I would recommend getting their foldable panels from them. Then you know that it's going to work really, really great with it. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and then make sure to use the code Marfoogle if you want us to get credit for it. I appreciate that, and thank you so much. And, yeah. It says that U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is expected to meet with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman during his upcoming visit with Saudi Arabia, a U.S. official told CNN. And by the way, I just want to remind you, there's certain things that they only tell CNN. I swear. CNN gets all the exclusives on all of these government-related things. And I don't really wonder why, but you see it a lot. Like, they have favoritism. It's the Ganda network. And it says relations between the two countries have been strained in recent years following the torture and the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which, again, they literally took the guy's head off. It says, for which a U.S. intelligence report held Crown Prince responsible. Imagine being any kind of politician and going into a room with somebody who basically took somebody and, I mean, the Khashoggi walked in like that. They had him on camera walking in, and then he just never walked out. That's scary. Dex, would you take a meeting with bin Salman? I personally wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd be a little sketchy to say the least. At least in my personal opinion and my personal position, I wouldn't. But obviously, Blinken probably can pull it off. I know, our leadership has gone over there, but we have not really had great relations. For as much money as we spend and as much defense as we give them and as much military as we give them, you would think we would have better relations than we have right now. But that's all changing. And, in this article, I think it even talks about the fact that they're raising the price on oil in July, which, by the way, is the summer season. It's when, everybody's traveling the most and using the most gas. So they're going to do that by slowing the supply, and which will cause the price to go up.
Personally, I think that, people should probably refrain from talking badly about, the royal family. They're pretty scary. Hello? Looks like someone's here. China now has the world's most powerful hypersonic wind tunnel. It says that after 5 years of construction, the most powerful wind tunnel on the planet has roared to life in China's capital, a facility that will be key to advancing Beijing's hypersonic ambitions. Located in the mountainous Hairu district of northern Beijing, the JF-22 wind tunnel is 4 meters or 13 feet in diameter and can generate airflow speeds up to 10 kilometers per second, according to a final evaluation conducted on May 30th. That makes it the largest and fastest wind tunnel in the world, capable of simulating hypersonic flight conditions up to Mach 30. That was what tripped me out about this when I saw it, up to Mach 30. Mach 2? Isn't Mach 2 the speed of sound, or is that just Mach?
That's 2 times the speed of sound. So 30 is 30 times.
Okay, so Mach is the speed of sound. That's 30 times the speed of sound. That's insane. It says the tunnel will support the research and development of China's space transport system and a hypersonic aircraft. By comparison, the Mach 10 tunnel at NASA's Langley Research Center, again, Langley, in the United States, a primary hypersonic test facility has a test section diameter of nearly 0.8 meters. A larger test section enables researchers to put larger aircraft models or even an entire weapon into the wind tunnel to obtain more accurate flight data. Most intercontinental ballistic missiles are under 4 meters in diameter, and it says the JF-22 is integral to goals set out by the Chinese government to be achieved by 2035. And it says, by then, Beijing hopes to deploy a fleet of hypersonic aircraft that can carry thousands of passengers into space each year or reach anywhere on the planet within an hour. So we talk about how, Elon Musk has all of these really crazy goals to get people to Mars by this time. China is essentially setting all of these same goals at the same time as really trying to, they're copying the blueprints of trying to make themselves look like the new America or something, which in fact, I don't know if it is the next one. No. So Dex, did you end up putting that video? We had to put that on Overflow, huh? Because of copyright.
I think so, because of copyright.
I wonder if we could show that. It's China, and you guys should go over to the website, marfooglenews.com. But I found this video of it's like this China trying to make themselves look like they're the peacekeepers of the world. It is over on militarytimes.com, but we ended up putting it on our website. So you have to go check that out. Look at how they're portraying themselves. I mean, it's really clear the narrative that they're pushing and what they're doing with the Yellow Silk Road and all of that. And it says, but such aircraft must be able to withstand the extreme heat and pressure of hypersonic flight. Essentially, China is really coming up in these sectors, and what's freaky and scary about this is if they are advancing in this kind of field and advancing this far and this fast, if they do end up, they already have beaten us in many categories, 37 out of 44 key categories in AI technology and in biofields. It's not good if they can end up making, super, super fast hypersonic jets and objects that can hit us or get to us before we can get to them. Not a good thing. And then border encounters remain low nearly a month after Title 42 lifted, DHS says. I've heard a lot about this over the last couple days. I personally think it's because there were so many people waiting to get in and they all got in. It's like if there was a line at the coffee shop and it didn't open up and it finally opened up and they got 5 people in there just cramming out coffees and they got everybody through the line and they're just sitting back and they're like, man, that was a crazy rush. Basically, everybody that wanted to get in is already in. And the concerning part is all of the folks from crazy countries all over the world that have been threatening the U.S. and want to do harm to the U.S., that was their chance to get in. So if there was to be some sort of crazy, fantastic Freddy, I would expect it pretty soon here. And that's just my opinion. If you look how many people from every single country around the world got in during this, the breaking of the Title 42, it was insane. They all rushed the borders. The number of daily encounters along the U.S.-Mexico border has remained low. And by the way, low is still unacceptable. The numbers in there low are insane. Nearly a month after the Demic-era restriction used by authorities to swiftly turn away migrants was lifted, the Department of Homeland Security said Tuesday. Authorities had been bracing for a surge in illegal crossings following the expiration of Title 42 last month. And while officials caution the migration flows can change, the average of 3,400 daily encounters reported by Border Patrol is a marked shift from the around 10,000 daily encounters days before 42 was lifted. So this isn't like saying that, it's super calm or whatever. This is 3,400. This is last year's numbers of where this is. It's insane how many people are coming over every single second of the day. Dex, go ahead.
And just to be clear, encounters are defined as an interaction between a U.S. border official and a foreign national who crosses without prior authorization. So that means they actually had to encounter them. So either if the same number of border people are there and this number is true, then it's accurate. But if you were to say take half of the patrol people away or move them or do something different, then of course the encounter number would be less because you have less encounters. So what's not represented here is the number of crossings or the number of non-encounters which I think they have a better term for than that, but people that don't encounter anybody but go across.
But this is how dirty politicians are. They'll literally just say, well, if we want the numbers to go down, just don't put your guys out there. In fact, tell them all to take a vacation for a week. And I just have a feeling like these politicians would do something like that. Be like, well, you know what? Just pull back, 200 of them or something. Then they just won't catch them. We won't have the numbers on file and we'll look good. It's the season. I bet things like that happen all the time. And then DHS faces backlash over app used to grant would-be illegal immigrants entry to U.S. I don't know if any of you have seen the videos of this being talked about in, I believe it was Congress, where they're yelling back and forth. But I didn't understand this at first. So Dex, do you want to explain the whole this app thing and what is the whole deal with the app?
Well, I guess I don't want to get too political here because obviously it's goes across the sides here. But critics have accused the administration of downplaying the number of people that are coming across that could enter under the two separate programs used to grant humanitarian parole, as they call it, to applicants who use the mobile phone app to book appointments. So if you use the app, you're, I guess, treated differently. The U.S. Customs or CPB, under the direction of DHS, expanded the CBP One app a year ago in April. Aaron Heater, a DHS spokesperson told the reporting agency here that they increased the appointments from 1,000 to 1,250 a day, which amounts to nearly 40,000 appointments per month. However, it's unclear how many people are included in such appointments. For example, whole families, married couples, or single people, which means the actual number of people entering based on those numbers could be much higher. In other words, if you had a family of 6, but it's just one appointment, you don't know that it's 6 people. So you can't really use those numbers to judge what's coming across. Or if it was just a whole bunch of single people with single appointments, then it would work out that way. So there's a lot of confusion as to what these numbers mean, and when they're using these numbers as a means of reference, it can get confusing and obviously heated and contentious when you add politicians into the mix and they start debating it.
Yes, especially, and they all use, if there's any little thing that they can make themselves look better over, they will do that if they can call out. One thing I over the last 5-6 years, have you noticed that it's very dramatic that a lot of and I see it on both sides. I actually see it more on the right-leaning side of these politicians that, in real life, what they're doing is they're setting up for 10 years in the future. They're going to be running for president, and they're trying to make their mark on the public by standing up and doing all this. I totally love that they stand up for things, but what happens is they'll say, well, look at this. Like the guys that pointed out that at the J6 things that, there's FBI agents there. The one, there's lots of these guys. There's like 4 or 5 of them that are always on, and I'm blanking on the names, but they go, look at this. This FBI agent. Is he arrested of this? Or the other guy that asked all the Congress, like, so where is the laptop? Do you have the laptop? Blah, blah, blah. These kind of interactions that we see go viral, that they're calling out, and all of us look at that and go, yeah, hell yeah, this guy wants the truth. But in reality, most of these guys are just doing it. Same with all of the politicians. I believe DeSantis, T-Man, all of these people do this, where they're only doing it temporarily, to get that kind of boost in their numbers or to make a mark on people. But when it really comes down to it, they end up getting into office and they don't do anything about it. Or what has happened about the FBI agent there? Nothing. What has happened about the laptop? Almost nothing. What has happened about all the things where they called out Facebook and social media and all of that? What happened about, they put it on air. It's like they put it on TV, so somebody's doing something about it, and we all think somebody's doing something about it. This is at Congress, but nothing ever actually happens. Like Facebook called out on like how they knew that their platform was addictive to kids, to small children and all of that. What happened? Nothing. Twitter, the old Twitter being kicked off, kicking off people of only one side and censoring things and censoring stories that shouldn't have been censored. I just think it's all one big show. And the older I get, the more I see the BS in these politicians, that even if they say something that I agree with, I'm still like, yeah, but is he doing that just so he can represent his constituents, and then 2 weeks later he'll get paid by a different company and be going with a different thing, he or she? Because I see it on both sides of the men and women politicians on both sides. What do you guys think, though? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Let me know in the chat below. And by the way, thank you, Chia Lisa. Thank you for all the mods here. What mods do we have? I know we have Aaliyah. I miss Lisa Hall. I hope she's doing okay. I know she's busy and working a lot. Red Pilled, Old Believer, won't be in my home. Let's see here. Bible Talk 777. Loked Out Queen. I love that. Loked Out Queen. Thank you for being here, and says, I finally made it. Jammer1, hey. Blissfully. Just make sure to thank your mods. Thank them for being awesome. Rob Max, the documents were not going to sell themselves. Blue Boy raised arms. Let's see here. What's up, Marfooglers? Texan in Louisiana, what's up? Oh, well, yeah. What's up, mother? Boop. And all right. And then Atlanta lawmakers approve funds for police training center despite fierce opposition. So, Dex, this is actually in Atlanta, Georgia. This is in your neck of the woods. Even before this thing existed, we actually covered this. I don't know if you remember that, but we thought it was really weird that they were making this big city for training, right? I still think about this, and I'm not saying I protest the thing, but have you, do we know, like, what is actually in this thing? Is it like a huge thing like they said it was before, when they said they were going to build this huge training grounds for cops? Seems to me like this could be training for, Jade Helm 2.0. But of course, that's not what the protests are all about. What do the locals there say about this place?
Well, I think a lot of the locals that support and back the blue are fine with it, because it's basically a investment in a place where they can have a larger training facility for, I think it's like 85-acre facility for both police, firefighters, and emergency responders to do training. And a large training facility. I think people that are against training or against specifically, expansion of police, they have a problem with it. And so it's sort of it's a split type topic that we tend to see. We've seen this before with other protests and things like that. So that's kind of the thing. There's probably a lot of other nuances about it at the local level, about how much is being spent, where it's being developed, et cetera, et cetera. But, fundamentally at the highest level, the divide is whether or not you support, the blue or you don't. And if you don't, then you don't want to see this type of facility and the money going towards doing this. So that's the frustration. And that's where we've seen most of the protesters that were very visible that you would see in the news and be reported about, the events that happened with, fireworks and Molotovs and other bang bangs and things like that have gone on time after time again with these different protests there, are typically around those types of protesters. And I'm not trying to lump them all into one category, but generally speaking.
Well, yeah, from what I've heard before is most of these protesters they're coming in for some reason. I mean, all these different groups kind of reminds me of one of the episodes from Yellowstone where the protesters come in and none of them live there, and they're always organized and brought in by some bigger group that say that they support these groups, but really it's because it's something to do with competition or it's something to do with some sort of other agenda. And then Missouri man Michael Tisius set to be executed today despite appeals from former jurors. a man who took the life and killed 2 rural Missouri jailers nearly 23 years ago during a failed bid to help an inmate escape, is set to be taken out on Tuesday evening. Michael Tisius, 42, is scheduled to perish by injection at the state prison in Bonnie Terre for killing Leon Egley and Jason Acton at the small Randolph County Jail on June 22, 2000. The New York Times reports that some of the jurors who decided Tisius should get the death penalty now say that they would back or wouldn't object if Missouri Governor Mike Parson commuted the sentence to life in prison. So are we talking about, and by the way, when I saw this, is this mean the jurors from original trial, and does that matter? So the jurors from the original trial back 25 years ago basically now say we object to this? Does that even matter? Isn't that just like some regular Joe saying, I don't like this to happen? Either way, this is being debated as far as the death sentence period. All across the country, there's different rules. I don't know. I don't even think we have one here in Washington. I don't know if we do. We might. Dex, do you have the death penalty in Georgia?
Yeah, we do.
So
Yes.
with this, it's like, as far as the whole debate about this, they're still going to go through with it. And the state of Missouri will carry out Mr. Tisius' sentences according to the court's order and deliver justice. Tisius lawyers have urged U.S. Supreme Court to block the execution, alleging that their appeals that a juror at the sentencing hearing was illiterate in violation of Missouri law. So basically, they're trying for everything they can. They're going down the alley of one of the jurors couldn't read. Surprised they didn't catch that in any of the, in any of the trial.
In my opinion, the only thing that would have, like you asked, does it matter if the jurors come out and say that? It doesn't really. Like legally, it doesn't. It has no bearing. Once everything's put in place, the process is an appeals process, and the only bearing it might have is the person who has the ultimate authority, which would be the governor, who could commute it or do something, and it might have a bearing on him if he hears that from them. That would be my only expectation, that those jurors saying that could have any type of effect on this. It's really either the governor's going to do something, or otherwise it's going to hold in place because it's a law, or it's adjudicated by the court. This is the way it's going to go forward, and there's an appeals process to get around it.
Hopefully he's made right with God. And Twitter's new CEO, Linda Yaccarino, logs first day in role of CEO. So we talked about this when we found out that Elon picked Linda Yaccarino. This woman is with the W and the E and the F. And by the way, hi, Trinity. Trinity, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Marv.
Love you, Trinity. And Twitter's new chief executive officer, Linda Yaccarino, has begun her role at the social media company. She tweeted late on Monday, about a month after Elon Musk named her as the new CEO. It happened. First day in the books, she tweeted without providing further details. Yaccarino, the former advertising chief at NBC Universal, is taking over Twitter at a time when social media platform has been trying to reverse a plunge in ad revenue. Musk, who has served as the CEO since his $44 billion buyout of Twitter last October, previously said that Yaccarino would help build an everything app. It is coming, and he probably will build this thing into a successful thing, but you have to do a deal with the devil to do so. Linda Yaccarino is currently still related with the W and the E and the F. This was a huge thing, and many people have not, even the people that were like worshiping Elon, there are some people that are just in the camp of like, whoa, what did you do this for? And then some are like trusting him through this, going, hey, if he's doing it for a good reason of somewhat. Maybe he's doing it so people believe that it's, to get all the advertisers back and nothing's going to change. What's funny is almost nothing has to change, and it just depends on who's running it. and they'll say, oh, there's so much more of this on it. There's always been crazy stuff on Twitter. People can type until they get booted. I mean, you could say whatever you wanted because it didn't censor things until after, and then it would take you down for it. Every platform has crazy stuff. There's videos all the time that go up on YouTube and get taken down within minutes with the safety teams and stuff. Once they get reported, they get taken down. So what's crazy is they made it like Twitter just completely changed. It didn't. It's the same. Some people believed that it was better for certain people. They weren't getting censored as much, but I don't think it changed at all. Really, I think that they just boosted the algorithm in a way. As far as Linda Yaccarino and an everything app, I think people should really pay attention to what all of this does. The X thing, this everything app, buy and sell. I don't know. I will say this, they're adding video to Twitter. I mean, they already have it, but they're adding, they already have 2-hour videos. They have, if they can tweak it to where there's live and it's workable, really, like, we're trying to use whatever platform we can be the freest on and be able to make a living and be able to survive. And if we could add Twitter that on top of everything else, I would. But as far as the Linda Yaccarino thing, I think I smell something fishy, whether it be for fake reasons, so people think that it's run by this woman, or for real reasons because he basically got everybody drawn in and it's a honeypot type of thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then Apple's Vision Pro, an impressive headset with few likely buyers, analysts say. I actually disagree with this. I don't know if I'll have to go to the original to show you pictures of these things. They look nuts. My personal prediction, I think that this is going to be huge and people are going to spend a whole lot of money for these things because they're Apple. And I think that, just personally, I think that probably people are going to jump in on this before they release it, and Apple's going to blow up because of this. I think it's going to be Apple that brings this, not Meta, brings the whole VR thing into the world. I don't want it. I think that a lot of this is, post CV stuff that they actually want to enact, so we're all sitting at home on VR. Dex, did you see what these look like?
Yeah, and I just gave you a video in Screener. I don't know that we could play it. It's Apple's video. It's from YouTube. It's on their official channel. But you could definitely go through and show some of the screenshots of it, and you'll get a lot better images of this because there's a lot of the things that they're demonstrating can be done with this. And it's pretty amazing and scary at the same time when you think about where it's going. But this is definitely something that's completely different from this whole notion of Zuckerberg's VR.
Whoa. Yeah, I'm not going to play the, what do you call it?
Yeah, don't play it, but you can find some good screens in there for sure.
So check this out. Let's see. Oh. So let's see. Okay, so right. So see here, she's essentially sitting on her couch. It shows everything around. So it actually looks like her living room, but there's a floating screen there. Now you say, oh, they already do that. But the other ones, none of them I have seen yet. They have black and white cameras, or even the cameras look like a 2005 cell phone camera feed. It just looks horrible. This would look like, 4K, everything looks just like it does, only you have floating stuff. Your photos can be life size or any size. You can literally look at your Instagram like it's something floating in the air. This is really crazy stuff.
And you can grab that screen in the air, like with your fingers, and pinch and drag it and adjust the size. You can make it equivalent to like 100-foot screen to your eyes.
This is so crazy. Can also expand in 3 dimensions. This thing is going to be huge. This is going to sell out right away. See, Meta just couldn't do it. Nobody likes Zuckerberg. Like, that's the thing. And I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but the guy just doesn't. He doesn't have pizzazz. He should have hired somebody else to be to sell the sizzle. Like, he just doesn't have it. His dorky thing with like the legless, like, oh, you could be immersed in a magical world, and then what they show you looks like Roblox or something. Like, well, I'm at the office, like a dancing Bilbo. It says you can bring in a beautiful environment. Look at this. So this is the crazy part, because I've used VR. I've used all of the current VRs, the Vive, the HTC Vive, whatever else, all of the other ones, the Oculus. This right here, they could do this somewhat, but if they can do it right, where it actually tells your brain that you are in this area, that is what's really crazy. Even where it is at currently. And again, you can have a floating app store where you pop this thing in. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, you can make you almost treat it like you would think of your phone, and you can make multiple screens, and you can put, a web page on the right and your email on the left and your FaceTime calls right in front of you. And then even though you're wearing a mask, the people that are looking at you when you're on FaceTime, it's replicating what your face looks like, and the mask is detecting all the facial expressions you're making, so they would see a generated version of just your face. Obviously, they'll see the rest of you, but it's generated and it's picking up your real-time facial expressions from, I guess, all the sensors that are on it. It's kind of crazy. I mean, just the amount of processing power and sensors that are going into this, and putting this onto your head just sort of gets you all worried. I know I would be worried about it, but at the same time, when you look at like in this video, by the way, guys, it's on our website, so you can go watch it. It's a little long, it's about 9 minutes, but it is the full demo of like where they're taking this, and it's not until next year. But pretty cool stuff when you think about it. The other one I love is you can walk up to your computer or your laptop, and it just instantly takes over the screen, and you're looking at the entire computer screen in this big flat virtual world in front of you. Not virtual world, but virtual screen. It's like, that's pretty cool, the way everything just kind of flows from one thing to the next.
And somebody said when the everything all at once thing. So like say you're watching a movie in the airplane or something, right? Somebody said that would just be annoying with the screen moving around with your head. So they already have this where you look around and the screen stays just like if you were watching a real movie and the screen was on the wall. So you could virtually and even drag and drop it to somewhere in your house, and it looks like you're in your house. Obviously it's digital, but then above your fireplace, there's a 100-inch screen TV. The thing is when this gets started to getting integrated with social stuff, and like they said, they've got these scanners that scan your face, and you'll be able to talk and be in an actual environment, and it looks like that person is there. Not some stupid dingly avatar. You're looking at that person in this virtual world, and you're playing that game, even if you're across the world. This thing is gonna take it to the whole next level. And I think it's done what Meta couldn't do. And it's fascinating. It's extremely interesting, but it's also scary because we know that Walmart and all of these huge conglomerations are setting up the infrastructure for this is to be how we live. You're going to own nothing and be happy. Dex, go ahead.
The other thing I'll say is in this iteration that they're showing, the glass is clear. In other words, when your kid walks up to you or your friend walks up to you in real life and you look at them, you see them, they see you. They can see through the glass, see your eyes, see your face, outside of the fact that it looks like you're wearing ski goggles and you're at the ski resort. But ultimately, I think the fact that we're looking at these big, bulky things on our head, that's just the beginning. I think when, where this is going to go is when they start to adapt this into much smaller things, and the glasses become tiny, or they become contacts, or they become embedded. And that's where you start to get into the world of, Neuralink and everything else. And does having a Neuralink implant actually project this into your brain so that you don't have to have this computer system and this fancy screen do it? You can see or interpret that you're seeing something in your brain in the vision of your eyes, if that makes sense. And I think that's the far off future, but that's not out of the realm of possibility and something we need to be thinking about as they're bringing about these big bulky glasses you put on your head.
Yeah, this is just this is going to be the next thing, and I think that it's going to change everything really fast, and people aren't going to realize corporations and greedy elites are going to take advantage of this somehow, some way, and it's going to change how we consume things, and people don't even realize it yet. With them improving this, if anybody tried on VR glasses and they couldn't do it because it hurt their eyes, that's going away. That's changing very fast. They also already have those contact lenses kind of screens, but it's just the beginning. When they do get to that point, it will be very quick. All right, and then make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/prep. If you don't have a backup of extra food, this is a really great reference for that. This is food that will last 25 years. It's freeze-dried, so they take out all of the water and water molecules, and it ends up being sealed in Mylar bags and able to last 25 years. The great part about freeze-dried food is that since they take out all of those water molecules, literally every water molecule out of it, it actually preserves it in almost the exact state it's in. In 10 years from now, you cook it, add water back into it, it basically soaks back into it like a sponge, and you get a lot of the flavor that it had when it was packaged. So it's pretty crazy to eat something after 20 years and it tastes almost exactly like it did when it was packed. Especially things like meat and things like that. When I would highly recommend looking into the meat package they have. Make sure to go and look at all of the stuff they have. But if you want to get a 3-month package, you can get it at $200 off. You can be helping your favorite channel, and you'll be getting a giant discount and be protecting yourself against a food shortage. We've seen what CV did when there were nothing on the shelves as far as non-perishable foods. If you don't want to be stuck in that position for a bad storm or natural event or SHTF, then I'd highly recommend looking into this. You don't have to get the 3-month plan. That's the hugest discount. The more bulk that you get, the bigger discount you get. But there is all sorts of packages. You can get a 3-day kit, a 72-hour kit for a go bag. You can get pretty much any denomination of foods through this. You can build up just a little bit at a time. But it is a good thing to have. If you buy it today or yesterday, obviously the price on freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years. It's better because in 3 years from now, if this is 3 times the price it is now, you'll still have 22 years left on the shelf, and you won't have to pay the exorbitant prices it is tomorrow. And that's a long time. It will be good until 2052. Well, thank you guys. And again, if it goes to support us and our independent news, and it also, of course, backs you up in any kind of disaster. They have all sorts of stuff over there, so make sure to hit the tab at the top. It can bring you to the anti-radiation tablets if you're concerned about that, gadgets, battery banks, radios, and of course the Alexa Pure Pro water purification system. Gravity-fed system gets rid of 99% of the 99.9999% of all of the nasty stuff, including lead, fluoride, chlorine, and all the gross stuff. All right, and then Dex, let's see here. I did have I just wanted to shout out Alaska Prepper, awesome guy. Make sure to go check him out. Had a nice talk with him a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking of you, Alaska, and of course Jacob Israel. Jacob Israel is going to be doing some interviews on his channel pretty soon, so we may end up over there. Make sure to go subscribe. He did a great video the other day, and I can't remember the title of it, but make sure to go check out his channel. You can check out all sorts of friends and all of our wonderful mods like Trinity, Hi-Ho Kermit the Frog here, over at marfooglenews.com/friends. This is a great resource, or if you just go to the main page and click at the Friends tab at the top, you'll find all of our wonderful mods, including Bones, Chance Paladin, CJ Blaze, Jim Jammer, One, Elise R. Hall, Rip Curl, Readiness, RGL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, and Wages World. Make sure to go check out all of them, and of course, all of our friend creators like Alaska. So for down. All right. To the man in the red hat. All right. Bible Talk 777 says, sorry for mentioning other company. Oh, I haven't got to it yet. Like those energies, I bought a 2K watt AC 200 Blue Yetis a few years ago. Like to get both if I can one day. Never know when a drunk will hit a pole or worse. Blue Yeti is great. I have nothing against other brands. Blue Yeti is, I think, the only other one that's expandable. The only downside with that is that they have the cords that connect each battery, and they come out really far. Blue Yeti, I don't know the whole background on that, but I've seen that they have similar ratings to Energy. I think the upside with the Flex 1500 is also you can get an EMP shield for it, so it's completely protected. I don't know if Blue Yeti has any kind of option for that yet. But yeah, no, Blue Yeti, we have no problem with like other brands of things. If it does the job, then it's good. I think that obviously, I personally think Energy is better. But I also have only tested a very small Blue Yeti. So I'd like to test the bigger ones, and who knows? They could someday be an affiliate if they're really, really good. But I really think that Energy you cannot go wrong with. And then K. Parker Fraser, thank you. Liz Potter, Be Real Beast, Abide, Lorraine, thank you for joining and subscribing. RGV Patriot, thank you for subscribing. And thank you, Janine, True News Network, and Jay Hankins for subscribing. Thank you. If you do subscribe during the show, you, of course, will get a shout out. Haven't said that in a couple of years because it stopped showing me. But thank you. Dex, let's go over the web only and maybe summarize the headlines here.
Yeah, we got a lot going on. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up the show notes link down below in the description. You might want to refresh that page, Adam. There's some new stuff on there. But if you get to this page, you're going to find all of the content that we just covered, including that video that Adam was clicking through there from the Vision Pro, as they're calling it. Then you'll find this orange bar called Overflow. This is where the rest of the story is. That first one there is the other video we were talking about related to the Chinese military. So if you want to check that out, definitely go take a look. It's kind of, I don't know how, I think you had questioned whether or not we could play it, Adam, and I think we were just being safe, but we can certainly click through it. And if you guys want to watch it, we think it's worth your time. The next, one of the other ones that was on here was an article about cars and the celebrities, the rich celebrities and the cars they're buying are currently driving. And I think there was a great point you were wanting to make, Adam, about Greta in here, correct?
Yeah, the fact that it says, the PLA fought against Ebola. Like, this is creepy. You got to watch this, guys. Make sure to go over and check it out. The other one on here is, did you just do the whole page? Because I can find it pretty quick. It's number 19.
No, it's the second link right underneath the China one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It says that it shows all of these people, right? And what cars they drive. It shows Greta on number 19, I think it is. And my question is, here it is. Greta Thunberg, Nissan Leaf, estimated value $35,800. By the way, anybody who's ever, sorry, there's Nissan Leaf, $35,000. Most definitely not that one, and not used. Those things are used. Those things are like $5,000. They're horrible little cars. No offense. I've drove them. I was not impressed. But Greta Thunberg is a Swedish environmental activist who's gained international recognition. They don't say anything about it. They say that she drives a Nissan Leaf. My question is, where is the Tesla that Elon gave her? Did she get rid of that for her image? I'm sorry, but this is, again, this is a recent article. So maybe they just didn't do their P's and Q's. Or she's currently trying to drive a Nissan Leaf because maybe she sold her Tesla that she got for free from Elon. I think it's part of the narrative. It's just like that Sam guy from the whole scam crypto guy. He only drives a regular Toyota, all the way back to Bill Gates when they said, "Oh yeah, he doesn't have a chauffeur. He's the billionaire that drives himself around in a Toyota or a 1993 Jeep or something." It's all of this persona that they make for themselves. She's got to drive a Nissan Leaf. Mind you, there's plenty of videos when she had that Tesla. She had all sorts of plastic bottles and garbage all over her car. She had like 10 different plastic bottles, which she says she's against. She had all of plastic silverware and all this crazy stuff, and non-recyclable things, that plastic wrapping and packaging. And it's a hypocrite. She was snatched up and used for a certain cause, but I won't say any more. You know what happens to people that talk about her. I just thought it was funny. And then Dex, go ahead and continue. Stupid.
I knew you had a little rant on that one. But look, there's a lot of other things going on. We got the political spectrum, a lot of things happening in Florida with DeSantis. What's going on with DeSantis? Christie's in there, as well as some other names and some updates around that topic specifically. There's also a couple of interesting tweets here. Speaking of that topic around the environment, there was one that's somebody had pulled up from the archives from 2000, or actually before 2000, when the UN was warning us that we had until the year 2000 to solve this problem that we're still talking about today. So that tweet is there. There's also another tweet that shows a interview with Tim Scott on a famous show, The View. If you haven't seen that, it's worth watching. And they certainly scramble to silence him. Lots of other things going on. There's some updates with Iran. There's some updates around the conflict, and even Cruz is in there. So a lot of the content this go around is a little bit of the edgy stuff. So go take a look. Marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here.
I just find a pretty funny tweet. A stern reminder from the United Nations that we only have until the year 2000 to save the planet from the global. It's again, June 29th, 1989. You guys, we only have until the year 2000. It's going to be horrendous. 11 years until chaos, doomsday. In 2023, kind of ironic. Thank you, Tammy Farrell. Thank you. Thank you for joining the fam and getting the Marfia badge. And thank you, Barbara Bashmeyer. Thank you, Jonathan Knight, Brian Hillary, Janine, Junebug, Rumbly D Clown. Is that Rumble de Clown? Make Out with Chaos, Connie T, Next Exit, The Sheila Show, Question Mark, Kathy D, Ralph Townsley, Pilgrim Pepper, Jimmy Wright, Lisa Douglas, Johnny D, Yobi, Gabriel, Jonathan Cook, Gladys Rodriguez, Dingus Chubb, Callie Singh, and Stephanie Brown in the last week. Thank you so much for joining the members. The oldest OG, the first 7 days was Bobby Sue Fry, Machina Opus, Warren G, Zushi Kotamato, Chosen One, Sapphire, Tree Hookers, One Up Shelf LLC, and of course, Ilea. Thank you. I appreciate all of the, again, all of the mods. Make sure to shout them out. M in the chat for the mods. Thank you. D in the chat for Dex. Let's give it up for Dex. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thank you, everybody that joined us tonight. Again, thank you, everyone that supported. Liz Potter, I believe you are #1 supporter tonight. Thank you. Again, with her comment, Jesus is #1 on my prep list. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And love you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a
shoutro. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's shoutro time, guys.
All is he gonna do is silly. music thing. He's not really good.
He's not bad. I mean, you know, he's all right. I mean, I wouldn't call it good, but I mean, he's a, sometimes it sounds entertaining.
No, not really.
I said, Liz Potter, everybody got you. I said, Liz Potter, everybody gonna be on the water. Hey, let's have on the water. It's summer now, and they ain't on the gotcha. Vision for the change, any change. A brew call when a rock goes hit. In my room, looking out my window. Bible top, triple seven in the preacher rapture. Very biblical in the city.
Boom.